Today we're going to continue on in Chapter 1 with Section 1.4, which is subtraction of real numbers. And remember, the rule of subtraction is basically subtraction is the reverse of addition, just like addition is the reverse of subtraction. So in order to subtract a real number, and I'm just going to abbreviate number with the number sign, or better known as a hashtag, to subtract a real number, basically you just simply add its opposite. So what that means is, and I'll kind of show you, but here's just a problem that you're going to see, very similar on the quiz. It's going to say that you start an account with $100. So if you start an account with $100 and then you pay a phone bill, that's going to be $70, and then it just kind of takes you down, and then you write a check for food, let's just say, for $40, and basically it's going to ask you how much is left. Now looking at this, if I see that I start out with an account, the first thing I got to realize is, am I subtracting or am I adding to my account? If I pay a phone bill, then that means money's coming out of my account, so I'm subtracting. If I write a check for food, or any check, every time I write a check, that means money is being deducted from my account. So at no point am I putting money in my account for this particular problem. So if I rewrite this problem and I'll say 100 minus 70, so after I pay my phone bill, I will have 30. All I'm doing is borrowing the 1, so remember I'm just turning this into a 10, and that's becoming a 0, so 10 minus 7 is 30. So then the next thing I'm doing is I'm writing a check for food. I go out to eat. I'm writing it for negative 40. So once again, I have a positive and a negative. I go back to my two-step process. These two don't match, so I subtract. 40 minus 30 is going to give me 10. The 40 is bigger, so I know that this is going to be a negative 10. Now, can I have a negative amount in my checking account? Absolutely. And then the bank is going to hit you with fees. We try to avoid that. But in this case, the answer would just be left at negative 10. Now, there's going to be examples where you're going to be left with negative numbers. And another example for that is, let's say that it's 78 degrees here at Chowan. And let's say that in Alaska, that it's negative 25 degrees. So basically what the problem would say is, what is the difference between the two temperatures? And remember, the difference is telling you to subtract. So that's telling you 78 minus negative 25. Right? Difference is telling you subtract. This is already a negative 25. So just like if these two signs did not match, this would automatically turn into a negative. Because they do match, and this is positives or negatives, just like with the other part, if these do match, then you'll always turn them into a positive. So this is going to be 78 plus 25. So the difference between these two temperatures is 103 degrees. Now if I write this out on an actual thermometer, put my 0 here, and let's say 78 degrees is here, negative 25 is down here in Alaska, and 0 being in the middle, you can clearly see that I'm having to add these up together to kind of look at those, or to get the correct answer. So once again, I'm just turning this into something. It's easier for me if I say 4 minus negative 2, for an example. Generally what I do is I just connect everything. And then it's 3 plus 2, it's going to be 5. So how you decide to do that is entirely up to you. There's no correct way to do that. Just be consistent with what you do. Now, if I'm used to using PEMDAS once again, and we kind of keep going back to that because we're going to follow that over and over, not just in the first sections, but all through any math that you do. If I have 2 times 5, and I'm going to subtract -4. So this will be very similar to something that you're going to see on the quiz. So once again, I still have to follow PEMDAS. I have parentheses, so I can address that first, right? But it's really a subtraction and addition. But anyway, the first thing I'm going to work out is this multiplication. 2 times 5 is going to give me 10, and I'm just going to rewrite the second part. Once again, because these two match, it automatically turns into a positive, and I'm going to just do it that way because that's the way I'm consistently going to do it in this class. 10 plus 4 is just going to give me 14. Main thing people want to do is just say 2 times 5 is 10, minus 4, I'm at 6. But that's not the case. Just like if you let somebody borrow money from you and they keep borrowing money from you, they'll get negative to you and they'll get farther away from what they owe you. Another example is if I have 2 to the third power minus 2 to the fourth power. Now this is you're probably not going to see one quite this challenging on the test, but anyway, very similar. This is just telling you that it's 2 times 2 times 2. Remember, I got to do my exponents first. Then I'm going to put my subtraction, and then it's going to be 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. So in this one, 2 is my base for both of these. This is to the third power, so I'll multiply them by itself 3 times. This one is to the fourth power, so I'll multiply it 4 times. 2 times 2 times 2 is going to give me 8. If I multiply that again by another 2, that's going to give me 16. So in this case, I have an 8 and a 16. One's a negative and a positive. They do not match. I subtract. 16 minus 8 is 8. The 16 is larger. It's negative. So it's -8. And that's with only doing a little bit of math. I don't even need to worry about the signs at this point. I'm just going to work it out. Now, if it tells you, if you have a problem that says, and here's just a written problem, because sometimes, I incorporate those. Subtract 4 from -2. So this is the problem. Once again, I need to subtract 2 from -2, or 4. So I'm going to put down -2. Remember, just slide down my numbers, and I'm just going to always write my numbers. If it says subtract 4, then subtract is telling you it's a negative. So once again, I have -2 minus 4. Because these two match, I'm going to add the numbers. 4 plus 2 is 6. The 4 is bigger, it's a negative, so my answer is going to be -6. This is no different than if somebody borrows $2 from you, they turn around and borrow another $4 from you. At this point, they owe you $6. And the last thing that we're going to cover in this section is a little bit of geometry, and we don't do a ton in here, but we do just a little bit. We do some now and then later on, and I think it's chapter 2. So anyway, the main thing that we're going to go over now is complementary and the other one is supplementary. These are our two types of angles. Now in any circle, all the way around, there are 360 degrees. In complementary angles, basically complementary angles are two angles that add to 90. Hopefully you remember 90 is also known as a right angle. So it's two angles that add to 90. Supplementary are two angles that add to 180 degrees. That's also known as a line. It's just a straight line. So normally what we'll see, this would be the formula for it. X plus Y is equal to 90. And for the supplementary, it's X plus Y is equal to 180. These are our two formulas. Basically, your problem will look something like this. That implying a right angle. And it will say X is equal to 55, and they're trying to get you to solve for Y. Once again, I'm just going to substitute these in. X is equal to 55, so this is going to be 55 plus Y is equal to 90. So basically I have to figure out what number I have to add to 55 that gives me 90. Well, the way I do this is I subtract 55 from both sides. And by doing that, that allows me to isolate the Y. So Y is going to be equal to 35. And carry the 1. So that's going to be Y is equal to 35. The way you double check that is, once again, I'll just add 55 and 35. It's going to be a 0, carry the 1, that's going to give me 90. Then I know I did it correctly. Same thing with the supplementary. You will see a straight line, and it will say that x is equal to, in this case, 40 degrees, and it's going to ask you to solve for y. Same process, I'm just substituting my x in, so in this case it's going to be 40 plus y is equal to 180 degrees. Subtract 40 from both sides. That allows that to disappear. Now I've isolated the y, and that's just going to leave me with 140 degrees. Once again, I can double check that. If I add 40 to 140, that puts me back at 180, so I know I did it correct.